Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. I'm here in Los Angeles and Jose is all the way over in Madrid in Spain. And we're going to be talking about his fantastic movie he had at our film festival, Tundra. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at the clip. Jose, as much as I wish you were here, I'm glad we're getting to do this across the world. It's beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you
um,
so much for inviting the film. It's really an honor to be in NewFilmmakers LA.
oh, well, it's an honor to have you, and I can't wait to talk about your film with you because it was a piece of art. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, Tundra is a film complicated to explain because I think it relies more on atmospherics kind of tone than it narrative. But it's basically a neo-noir story of a man searching for a woman in a dystopian landscape, an infested city that stands for contemporary Havana. So it is a reflection of contemporary Cuba through the lens of dystopia. And you see a country devastated by the social political situation. And to talk about that, to take a distance and maybe to like depict the real grotesque and let's say darkness elements that are in the daily life in Cuba. Well, I use elements from science fiction, from neo noir, from horror, from fantasy to create like an oniric kind of surreal world surrounding my main character, who is an electrical inspector. He's a bureaucrat from that represents the government, and his work is basically finding poor families with high electric bills. And he starts dreaming with a woman that he doesn't know if she's imaginary or if she really exists in his reality. So he wakes up one day and starts looking for her in the city. And he starts meeting some really interesting characters, like a little girl who is the daughter of a man he just find during his work, and she starts following him, trying to bribe him to take the fine away. So that's kind of the setup. And well, it's I for me, I think it's like a descent into the gods, the dark gods of the totalitarian system in Cuba. So kind of that's Tundra.
I mean, what Jose? Honestly, what I mean, an amazing story, and the way that you told the story was just incredible to watch visually. I can tell you've seen it on the big screen. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. I mean, I was captivated from the very opening shot of just this experience this guy was dreaming and going through. It was so well shot, and was so the production design was incredible. Now, obviously, I love that you've kind of given a love letter to the people of Cuba and what people have been going through and experiencing. I think that's so beautiful, and you did it in a really creative way. Where did it come for you, Jose? Where you decided to I want to turn this idea into a film? What was that kind of impulse for you to do that?
Yeah, well, it was a process. I was working with a friend, another filmmaker, Carlos Melian, who is a filmmaker from another generation, but very close to what I do aesthetically. And we were trying to work on a script for me to direct, and he showed me an old script of him that he was trying to produce years ago, and he didn't find anyone who believed enough in the project to finance it. And I loved the script, and I thought that movie was needed to be made. So we reworked on the script. I entered, and we kind of rewrote parts of the original script and started creating the universe of the film from a visual and um, more maybe cinematic standpoint. So because in the film, in the original script, we had the character, we had the motivations, we had an insinuation of the world of these creatures that people live with without getting surprised by their presence, without doing anything to get rid of them. It's like kind of these monsters that you see in the film surrounding the characters for me are like a very concrete metaphor of what's wrong in the system, and people don't do enough to solve that problem, those problems, like the elephant in the room, something that is there, everybody knows it's there, but nobody does enough to solve that problem. So we needed to create this idea of social cancer materialized around the characters in the film, and also be like a very strong and grotesque visual element, visual metaphor. So we started creating with the rest of the team from Studio SD, which is our independent production company. It was created in Cuba like 5 or 6 years ago with a lot of young filmmakers who wanted to do independent films that were different from the ones created inside the state institutions. So with a great team, my great cinematographer Gabriel Alemán, my great producers Leila Montero and Daniela Muñoz, our production designer Pepe Reyes, everybody put their best effort to create this dystopian world related to the worlds of Terry Gilliam's Brazil and George Orwell's 1984. We had also influences from Blade Runner and from another filmmakers I love like David Lynch, David Cronenberg, Andrzej Szulowski, Brian De Palma. So it was like a mixture of cinematic references because I'm a huge cinephile. So I want to talk about Cuba in a different way because Cuban films are always defined, they are always very defined by realism, social neorealism. They are always like strong melodramas or light comedies. And for me, it's not enough to depict contemporary Cuban reality, which is very complex. So I didn't want to explain Cuban reality in my film. I wanted to create an experience for people to not maybe understand what Cuba is, but to feel what Cuba really is, what it's like being there in this dense atmosphere, being like always prevented to move forward, like you're stuck in time, you live in a zombie society, all this kind of um, state where you are not asleep and you're not awakened either. So it's kind of this limbo. So that's what draw I think draw us and excited us to create this film to represent this.
Wow, I could talk to you for hours about cinema and your artistic visions and Cuba. Like this is that was amazing, and it really does show the hard work that you put in to the film by all the references and influences and team and people you brought together. So well done, honestly, well done.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see so many more films of yours because you know you really do put the work in as a filmmaker, and you've got a fantastic team. And you know, and I love that you filmed this, you know, in Cuba and celebrated, you know, so many amazing, talented people. Now you mentioned as well from the very beginning, because you know, you said about creating this universe, creating this tone. That was so magical. I felt like I was in your universe you created for us, which you know was amazing. Um, how did you kind of go about, you know, when you say when you as a filmmaker, and for any filmmakers maybe watching, how do you go about creating your universe? You know, you mentioned things like tone, but like how does that begin? Who do you work with in order to kind of make that happen?
Well, there are a lot of elements that go into creating this kind of immersive universe you were talking about, but we wanted the film to be really immersive from a visual standpoint. So with my cinematographer, Gabriel Alemán, we explored the idea of long takes, long shots. We say in Spanish, plano secuencia, because we didn't want to use like a lot of cuts, intense cutting in the film, because we wanted the spectator to go with the camera to immerse in that world and to discover that world along with the camera. So we have all these very long and choreographed shots where the camera moves around, pans, and and you can start like discovering like every tiny detail of this world, and you are also kind of getting into a dream-like state because it is all continuous, so you don't know what's real or what's imaginary in the world of our characters. So that kind of ambiguity, that kind of immersive techniques with the camera, with the cinematography, with the changes of the lights, was very important. And also too, like how to intervene in the space from the production design point of view to enhance what's already there. So in Cuba, we have a lot of structures that seem dystopian and post-apocalyptic already. So with a few elements, we could like create like an imaginary world, alternative world that is very close to reality in spirit. So we use these Soviet buildings in the background. We went to film in the peripheries of the city. In the midst of the pandemic, we had to stop our shooting for like 6 months because the pandemic arrived in Cuba. We were going to film in March 2020, and we ended up filming in December. So we needed to wait a lot to make it to make it fine, to make it well, and well, it was a very huge effort from the team in a lot of difficult circumstances, economically, politically in Cuba at the moment. But I think that also reflected on the film. So that got into the tone and the atmosphere in the film, the tension of the environment. So I like because it's a weird testament of the times we were experiencing, although it's not a realistic film technically, but it's very in the same spirit of what we were living in Cuba, this kind of uncertainty that we were experiencing. So I think, and also in post production, it comes the sound. The sound design was very important in this film, and the music, the sound design by Glenda Martinez and the music by Rafael Ramirez. It was the other dimension we needed to really immerse the viewer in a different strange world, and it's like a throwback to these soundtracks from the 70s and 80s, from horror films, the soundtrack of Blade Runner, the soundtrack from Suspiria by Dario Argento, the soundtracks by John Carpenter. These were influencing our way of creating, like also like if we were going to create a new world in the visuals, we also needed to create a new world in the soundscape of the film. So
You
yeah, it's a great team working at the best of their capacities to make this film work, and I'm very happy with the team I got in this project.
Yeah, I mean, goodness me. I mean, it's so fascinating to hear your influences and your own imagination. I mean, I can say as an audience member, you definitely took me into, you know, a dreamlike state of a world. You know, I felt like I was in some kind of lucid dream. It was really really clever. And I was almost living it through the eyes. And I love that you left us, you know, I love that you mentioned about long shots and you left us in there to kind of experience it and immerse into the universe that you created. So, you know, definitely well done. Now, when you're working, Jose, when you're working with actors in this kind of style of film, what's your process?
Well, I love working with actors. It's one of my favorite parts of the process, and I like to work with what I say are like very actors with a great range, and actors that are very insightful and intelligent. I don't know. I like to work maybe more with actors that come from theater or independent cinema that are used to taking risks with their choices of characters and with their acting. And I had the also I was very lucky to work with one of the greatest Cuban contemporary actors, Mario Guerra, who is like one of the most important faces of Cuban contemporary cinema.
So,
And yeah, and he was very immersed in the project from the start. He understood this man, the frustrations of the character, the unmaterialized desires of the characters. I think he got to connect it from a very generational standpoint with the frustrations of these characters. People that have built the Cuban Revolution are now frustrated at the middle of their lives. They are like baffled and confused to what has happened to the country. That's not the country they work for. So I needed to create this kind of dystopia of desire, a place where your desires never come true. Uh, it's kind of like that. So he understood that from the beginning, and the girl Laura Molina is just amazing. She's like natural for the camera, and I was very lucky to have her. And also the Red Woman, Nacy Alpizar, who also embodied like two characters in one, like the real person and the idealized version of this person in the mind of the character. So yeah, I always work with these kind of actors in a very intuitive way. I talk a lot with them in order for them to understand what I want to. We also rehearse, but not that much because I don't want all the spontaneity to go away before filming. And also, we watch films. I give them references of films with tones similar to the tones I want in my acting, in my scenes. And in this particular shooting, they were very close with the camera because there was a very intense choreography. So it was also precise and detailed, and they were great, and they helped a lot because we didn't have to do as much retakes because of the acting, but because the shots were very complicated to get, and the actors were great. They didn't present any problems. They were just very committed to the project. And we also had Jorge Molina acting as the father of the girl. He's one of the most important Cuban independent filmmakers and also a cult actor. So that's like a lucky charm also for the project. And yeah, I think I had very intelligent actors and they could connect with the world and they could understand the visuals and the sounds. And I also work with the original music playing sometimes during the scenes. So they kind of got very into the atmosphere the final film was going to have. Also, what was going to feel like when they were in the bar, the music that was playing was the same. So yeah, you have to create like if you want to create an immersive experience with your film, you also have to create an immersive shooting. People have to be very concentrated, very into this dense atmosphere in order to live their characters, not act their characters.
I this is like I honestly feel, Jose, that many filmmakers should watch this and learn from you, because it's like this is like a workshop for how to do things properly, how to do things well, how to do things in depth, and well done, just well done, because it's so lovely to hear all the areas that you've covered, and how you work with your actors and your cinematographer and your design. It's all fantastic. Now I know obviously you shared with us. We're gonna just, a couple more questions. Could you share with us, kind of the inspiration of why and how you wanted to make this film, and Tondra, and what it means to society in Cuba. Having made the film, having it in front of an audience, how's that experience been sharing this film, and what did you want your audience to take from your film?
Well, it has been very. I haven't been in all these festivals in all the screenings of the film, sadly, but in the ones I've been and from the feedback I've gotten and the reviews, not only from Cuban critics but also international critics and people that maybe don't know anything of Cuba, they all get this feeling that something is rotting in the Iceland, that something is rotting in the social tissue. They all get this feeling by watching the film. And my hope with the film is that people get interested in the situation in Cuba, but not by making a pamphlet. I don't want to do a pamphlet. I don't want to do an anti-government propaganda film. I don't want people to be didactic to explain everything that happens in Cuba because I think you can find that in the independent media, independent magazines and journals that very brave journalists create from and outside of Cuba to tell the real truths about Cuban reality. So I want to make a piece of art. I want to try to make a really good film so people can be interested in the aesthetics, in the visuals, in the acting, in the sound, the music, in the storytelling, but also got them interested in knowing more about Cuba later. So in the Q&As, they always start asking me what the monster stands for, what's the metaphor, what does it say about Cuba, the film. They become asking me after these questions more and more details about the country because they are very intrigued by a country so different, so strange in the 21st century, still living like 40 years behind. So that's what I hope for, that the people connect to my film cinematically and also that they get interested in knowing more about the Cuban reality. Cuba is living right now a kind of it's always in crisis, but right now it's in a general blackout from the last 3 days. There is no power in the entire country because a hurricane entered like from one day, and that kind of like devastated all the power supply in the country because the government was not prepared. They don't know what they are doing. So people are on the streets protesting right now. So the Cuban reality is already very um, dramatic. Is They are really experiencing dystopia. So my film's just like a shy approximation to the real horrors of what Cubans have to endure. So I think as artists committed to our countries and to the general problems human humans have in our contemporary world, the best thing that can happen is that people get more interested in these causes because of your films, of your works of art. So Cuba needs help. Cuba needs the support of the world. So every Cuban film, every Cuban book, every Cuban article, everything that can help is always excellent. But I also want the people to connect in a different way and to really experience, because it's difficult when you're not there to know what it's like to live in a country like this. So I try to look for that in my films to 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 get you into the mood of what it's like being inside.
Yeah, well, you certainly did that, and thank you for sharing that. And we're all sending our love to the people of Cuba during these very very difficult times right now for so many. And so we're sending lots of love, and we really hope people come through this because it's a very difficult time. Um, just to close on, Jose, what is next for you?
Well, I'm always working on several projects at the same time, but regarding my film projects, I have two features in development phase. One of them is the reason I'm in Madrid right now in Spain, because I'm creating a hybrid feature called El Mar, the sea. It's part documentary, part fiction. It implies the reenactment of a Cuban lost film from the 1960s, a censor film made by incredible Cuban filmmakers, Fernando Minuca Villaverde. They created a very experimental, different film in those years, 1964. They were censored. They had to leave the country. The film got lost in the middle, and I'm remaking that film and also working with them in the process. And that's the project I'm developing with an artistic residency in the Madrid Film Academy. I starting next Monday, so that's why I'm here in Madrid. And yeah, you were going to say something?
No, no, I said that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Ah, great, great, thank you. See, that's a passion project for me because it's a way of retell Cuban history to overcome censorship and overcome erasure of our culture, and also a very beautiful film, and that I'm remaking and making it exist. And also have another fiction feature called Ismael, which is also like Tundra set in a kind of futuristic Cuba in the near future, and it is about the problems of a country immersed in toxic masculinity, and it is a world of men, of frustrated men, like maybe kind of like Tundra, and there is a boy in the middle of that trying to keep a love promise, and everybody's trying to corrupt him. So it's kind of like a film about a coming of age about the loss of innocence in a country without morals, without values, and it mixes also neo noir, western, dystopian fiction. So it's like a no country for all men, but in deserted Cuba in 15 years from now, and that's very exciting with the script by Cuban filmmaker Carlos Quintela. And I also want to make a short here in Madrid, which is my next home for the next year at least. So I want to also to create a fiction that has to do with Spain, and I also have ideas. So I'm working on that right now and also adapting to a new country. So it's very very busy time.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, Jose, you are very, very busy and working so hard, and this is amazing. We can't wait to see your next projects. I mean, my goodness me, the thought process that you put into your projects. I mean, it's a wonderful cinematic experience to watch your film on the screen. So we can't wait for the next. But we want to say a big thank you. Welcome to the new Filmmakers LA family, and We're looking forward to seeing many more of your projects. But thank you so much for Tundra, and thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you so much, Danny, and thank you to all the team of New Filmmakers LA. I'm very pleased, very happy that Tundra screened in your festival in the amazing Linwood Theater. So very honored by that, and hope to be in touch in the future. And good luck with the festival, which is an amazing experience for filmmakers, young filmmakers all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.